Hello, everyone. Welcome to Basecamp Office Hours. My name is Kimberly, and I am on the 37 Signals team, 37 Signals being the makers of Basecamp and Hey, and I'm so excited that you guys are joining us today. There's a lot of you, so we're really excited and love having people joining us for these live sessions. So today's session is all about Basecamp 2 transitioning to Basecamp 4. So if you're here, you're likely a Basecamp 2 user who's interested in learning about our newest product. So that's what we're going to go over a little bit today. The newest version of Basecamp has so many new features. We're not going to be able to cover all of them in the hour that we're together, but we're going to hit the high points, and then we're also going to show you what it looks like to transition from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4. We'll actually show you what that transition looks like when you move projects over, so it doesn't become so scary. So before we get started, I want to see who you guys are and where you're coming from. So if you found the chat on the right side of your screen, it's that first icon on the right. Let us know where you're from. We know we have Basecamp users all over the world. I'm in Dallas, Texas. We have a couple of Basecamp folks as well in the chat, so they'll chime in as well. But let me know where you guys are coming from, because we'd love to know where you are. In this session today, we'll spend just about an hour together, like I said, going over transitioning from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4 and some of those features of Basecamp 4 that are unique. You'll also have a chance to ask us specific questions. So I know some of you wrote in some questions when you registered. Some of them were quite popular, so we've already pre-populated those into our Q&A section. But if you have a question as we're going along, please let us know. On the right side of your screen, you see that chat feature at the very top. It's the first little icon. Right below that, there's one with a question mark. That's where the Q&A is. So if you have a specific question, if you'll pop it in there, we'll make sure to answer just as many as we can in our time together. Also, the Q&A has an option to upvote. So if you see someone else's question that you really want to make sure that we get to, make sure to upvote that so we know that it's something multiple people want to know about. Oh, I love it. Athens, Georgia, Connecticut, Las Vegas, Mexico, San Diego. You guys, so excited that you're here. Thank you for spending your time with us today. I know everybody's super busy. Like I said, my name is Kimberly, and not only do I work at 37 Signals, but prior to working here, I was a longtime Basecamp customer. I had my own event planning company and started with Basecamp Classic, our original version, back in 2011. And then in 2013, I transitioned to Basecamp 2. So I know both of those products. And then Basecamp 3 came out in 2015. I didn't transition right away. In fact, I didn't make that transition until 2020. So I was a holdout. I really liked Basecamp 2. It was working for me. I didn't want to move. And then in 2020, I made that transition. If you've heard Basecamp 3 and Basecamp 4, just to give you a little bit of color on that, unlike other products, Basecamp 1 and Basecamp 2 being very different, where you had to actually sign up for the new version, Basecamp 3, we just added features to it. So that Basecamp 3 version automatically became Basecamp 4. So if you hear Basecamp 3 and Basecamp 4, currently they're interchangeable. No one's really on Basecamp 3. We've rolled all the new features up to everyone who are now on Basecamp 4. So what I do here at 37 Signals is I make some video tutorials for our latest version of Basecamp 4. Those live on basecamp.com/learn, and one of my colleagues will drop that in the chat. As you're going through this session today, if you want to get some more information about how Basecamp 4 works, that's a great place to go, because there are lots of different video tutorials about the newest product. I also host our podcast at 37 Signals called Rework with our founders, Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansen. We'll also drop that link in the chat. If you are a small business owner, entrepreneur, not necessarily even in software, it's a great podcast to listen to about how to run your business. Okay, I think we've taken care of most of the housekeeping notes. You guys know where the chat is. You know where the Q&A is. That next icon down is a poll, and I'm going to pop that up. We just kind of want to know, why did you decide to sign up today? Are you someone who's just curious about what Basecamp 4 can do? Are there some things in Basecamp 2 you're not able to do, and you're curious if Basecamp 4 can solve for them? Are you ready to upgrade but just want a little more info? So let us know in that poll section kind of where you land, so we know who we are talking to. Oh, it's currently split a little bit down the middle. So yeah, pop those poll questions in just so we know. And before I introduce my colleague who will be leading most of this demo, quick disclaimer, we've always said as a company that we will maintain our products till the end of the internet. That means you don't have to move. If Basecamp 2 is working for you and you love it and you don't want to change to Basecamp 4, Awesome. We're still happy to have you as customer. Please don't feel pressure. This is very low pressure, not a sales pitch. I'm not in sales. My colleague Ashley isn't in sales. We just want to give you the information and help you make the decision that's best for you. Like I said, I stayed on Basecamp 2 for a really long time until I decided I was ready to move and transition over. So if that is what you want to do, we're still happy to have you as a customer. With that, I'm going to introduce my colleague Ashley and bring her to the stage. Ashley, hello.
Hey everyone, my name is Ashley.
Tell us about you, what you do here.
Yeah, I've been at Basecamp for over 6 years, and so I have a lot of familiarity from back in 2017 to present, talking with plenty of folks moving from earlier versions of Basecamp, be it Classic or Basecamp 2, over to 3, which is now 4. So if you have a scenario that you want to talk through that we don't cover in this call, just let me know. Send an email to guides@basecamp.com. We'll include that link a few times, and I'll even send you a follow-up email anyway. So let me know if you want to have any kind of one-on-one discussions. A lot of my days spent doing that, and we can talk through whatever kind of situation you might be running into. But this call should be super helpful for everyone. So I'm really excited to get into it.
Perfect. Well, with that, Ashley, I'm going to have you share your screen so we can walk through what Basecamp 2 does, what Basecamp 4 does, and kind of some of those highlights of Basecamp 4. So I will let you do that. And in the meantime, we're going to drop a link in the chat. We do have a video. You might have received it by email from Ashley, actually, with some of the highlights of Basecamp 4 features. So we'll drop that in the chat as well. So if you want to watch that afterwards, you can.
All right. And just to kind of start us off with something familiar, let's begin in Basecamp 2 for a moment, where when we look at this homepage, we see all these different rectangles by default. And I know that we can switch things up a little bit if we'd like to. But the most important thing here is that each of these is a project space, right? We're all used to that. And when we get into a project, we're used to a specific set of tools. We're used to discussions, to-dos, files, documents, events, right? And so we have kind of like a basis here. I'm going to switch us over to Basecamp 4, where we have something similar happening as well. All of these are technically projects, even though I've named this the headquarters and I've named this the marketing team. But when I click into a project, I have the same situation. So instead of discussions, I have message board. Instead of to-dos, I have to-dos. They're updated. Here are docs and files. And so there's a lot of familiarity in having this kind of boxed system. But I think one of the major things, and let's start a project from scratch. Let's go ahead and just say new project here. Here are those tools once again. We start off with these 5, but we can actually change our tools, which is something completely different from Basecamp 2. So if I go ahead and change my tools in this project, not only can I turn off something that I might not need to make it a lot more compact and maybe a little bit more straightforward for whatever the purpose of this project is, but I can even scroll down. I can bring that back. I can pull up some other tools that I may want to take a look at. As a spoiler, they're all very exciting. And so let me actually go back to change tools and do one additional thing here that you can't do in Basecamp 2. And that is add another of a specific tool. So I see it most often with to-do. So maybe we have kind of one team is focusing on this. Maybe we'll do the marketing. Within them. So there's a lot more flexibility here than there would be in a lot of in a Basecamp 2 project.
And Ashley, I'm going to interrupt for a second because when I worked with clients in Basecamp 2, there were sometimes I wasn't using a tool. So I'd have to say, like, just ignore that, like a section. Like, don't look at that section. Don't use it. We don't use that. With Basecamp 4, you can just turn it off. So they never even see a tool if you don't want them to.
Yep. Exactly. So it can be a lot more seamless. And so let's actually bring a bunch of folks in here. Make sure Kimberly's in here as well so we can see her. So here I'm just quickly adding people to this project because what I really want to show you is in the team or in the to-do section, you're of course familiar with making a list. So here we have a list title of something that we want to do. You can, with a little bit more ease, just kind of get whatever is in your mind out onto the page so that it is there. And once you're there, you can kind of group your tasks together in a way that's not possible in Basecamp 2. So hopefully something right off the bat feels like it's an improvement from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4. And then let me also group a couple more of these so that we can say, you know what, these are going to be on hold. These can be whatever you want them to be. They just add a little bit more flexibility to whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. And then also within here, we can get a lot more descriptive and we can do something that is not possible in Basecamp 2. So if I need someone, I need people to generally produce some kind of end of quarter report, right? And it might take a few folks. So not only can I assign this to multiple people at one time, and although it only takes one person, they all can collaborate on this singular task if they need to. When it's done, maybe someone specific wants to be notified. Or maybe we'll only have the writer do this part, and then the designer can be next. So you can kind of maybe do a form of dependencies here that can really assist with any kind of work that you're focusing on. We also have the notes section, which is a lot more robust than it is in to-dos. You can add as many files as you want and kind of make it very clear here what your due date is going to be, especially if you need that to recur. It's another major difference. So if this needs to happen every other week or some other custom date, you can get really specific with that. And we can add this to do. And now we have something populated here. And in addition, I also want to show that I know in Basecamp 2 you had that little like trash can on the side and that little edit option. But in Basecamp 4, you can multi-select these and say that I want to assign all of them over to Kimberly. I can do that. And so now I can bulk add someone to these particular tasks. I can also move them over to another project, to another list, same with the copy function. Or if I want to change all of their due dates, I can make it a specific day or make it a span of time, or I can even shift all the due dates forward. Only one of them had a due date, but we will go ahead and move it forward by 1 week. And so now every date related to that is shifted in 1 week. So I think that is just a major level up that everyone should know about if they're considering Basecamp 4.
And Ashley, I'm going to jump in because one of the questions that we got when people registered was, are there any new features in Basecamp 4 that make workflow better? Currently, one of our pain points are that when one to-do is done, there's no automatic way to alert the owner of the next to-do. You showed us that. But also card table is a way that you can do that as well. Do you want to jump to that tool?
Yes, I love card table. If your work follows a progression, if it goes anywhere from being in a development stage to being worked on, maybe getting reviews, and then so on, you can consider using a card table, which is our version of a Kanban board. And so here I'm going to go ahead and add a few more columns because I think I have a few more phases of work to add in here. So here I'm just going to type in needs feedback. And then maybe I will do up for client review, something like that, right? So I'm developing this process and it's going to be available to anyone who's in this particular project. And so what I can do is I can ask people, if I for sure want Kimberly to please click on needs feedback and then watch this column. When I put my work, and we'll just generically put the word work there, when I move my work into one column and then the next one, no one is being notified until Kimberly is watching this particular column. And then she'll be notified on her end that something has moved into something that she's focused on. So if instead of in progress, this was maybe team A and this was team B, then team B would receive that notification when team A moved it over. So I think that would be another solution to answer that particular workflow point.
Okay, Ashley, will you go back to to-dos really quick because a question came in I wanted us to answer. Now I need to find it again. Here it is. From Julie, who's here with us live. Someone on my team said that when you check off a to-do in Basecamp 4, it does not go away. Is this true? Because this is one of my key concerns when it comes to migration. Will you show us checking off a to-do and how that works?
For sure. Let me just grab a couple more so you can see exactly where it kind of ends. So if I'm checking this, so they don't leave right away. But if I kind of exit out of the area, if I have more lists, they kind of truncate after 3. So we have these 3 that are completed, but then we also have 3 more. So it won't show you, it won't just be like a mega long list. It will eventually truncate, but in the moment, it does stay right there as it's kind of showing you what's happening live. But if I exit out of here and we kind of let the page refresh, even from a distance, you can see that we have the list title. And then the ones that are completed do show up here, but in that kind of truncated version.
So there's a lot that the to-dos can do in Basecamp 4 that we're not going to go through every single item today, but we will drop in the chat our video that we have all about the to-do tool, everything that you can do with it, including the bulk assigning that Ashley showed you, the bulk moving dates. There's just so much it can do that Basecamp 2 could not. So we'll drop that in. Julie, you are welcome. Okay, so we've talked about to-dos, the card table a little bit. Actually, Campfire. That is a new tool that was not in Basecamp 2. There's actually a couple of chat tools. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, definitely. So Campfire is going to be where you have a casual chat. You can mention people. You can say, hi, or anything else that you want to say to them in this particular space. And the reason why we have it enabled in every single project is because we want folks to be able to kind of have these dedicated channels of communication. So if I go to a project, everything within that particular space is related to that project, right? And so I can see people reply back to me. Once they do, I can reply to their message specifically. So it's not just kind of like a linear A, B kind of a situation. When someone replies, then I'm able to kind of like celebrate it with a boost, which is also new to Basecamp 4. I can reply to it. I can copy the link to share that to someone else at this particular point. As an owner, I can delete it, but I can also mark it as don't forget. So there's really just a lot of things that you can do, and we'll get into don't forget in a little bit here. But there's just an ease that comes with being able to hash something out quickly. And not every project calls for a Campfire chat, or even if it does, maybe Campfire doesn't sit quite well with you. You can just call it quick chat at any point. I can't.
And Campfire is project specific. So when you have a project, you can create a Campfire tool, and only the people within that project are seeing that chat. So it really helps organize. It's not just one major chat. It can stay focused on the topics of this project.
Yes. And that's going to be separate from your ping messages. Those are like direct messages. They're like private messages. This is a way where you can have a conversation with someone outside of a project. So if Kimberly and I are getting lunch in a few hours, we can probably ask each other about it here instead of in a project that's more focused on work. And so you can even have group pings, which if there's something private you want to discuss, like maybe it's somebody's birthday or you want to just kind of keep something under wraps, then you can have those conversations there as well. But most importantly, it's going to be separate from this particular Campfire chat.
You got it. And yes, Campfire is something that you can turn off per project. Pings are exclusive of a project, so you can ping anyone within the account.
Definitely.
Okay, those are two chat tools that did not exist in Basecamp 2. There's also notifications are different in Basecamp 4 from Basecamp 2.
They're
and better.
I think so too, because Basecamp 2 notifications are so email heavy. And I think we've moved away from that in general. And so when you are in Basecamp, what's most relevant to you is going to appear in your Hey menu notification. It's like, hey, this is your inbox of sorts. And so anything that's new for you is going to be at the top. We have this new section called Don't Forget, and then your previous notifications are all going to be listed out here, even a larger view if you'd like. So you have these three different sections that just kind of pull everything together in one location. You can turn off email notifications if you'd like. So with that in mind, when I am here, let's look at Don't Forget, right? So say that Kimberly had sent something here that I really don't want to, I don't want to forget.
Very important message.
Yes. So here I will click on Don't Forget, and it pulls it up into the Hey menu. And then now I have this reference point. So for example, my other options here, it's not necessarily a task for me to submit my expense reports, just something I do regularly. I don't need to be reminded very often, but I don't want to forget it. So I might leave this as Don't Forget for a while. And then once I complete it, I can just clear it off with that little X on the side. And so I think Don't Forget kind of is also an enhancement to the workflow in general. And I think it's a really vital part of the way that I work, but just adjusting your notifications overall really has been really fantastic. You know, there's a lot more variation in what you can do. We have very full help guides on how notifications could be set up so that you know that things are working as best for you as they could. I don't work on Friday, but I do work on Sunday. So this is a better setting for me. And for some of you that don't work those typical Monday through Friday hours, that could also be really helpful for you too.
Okay, Ashley, I'm going to have you jump to the schedule tool. And a question that we got that's gotten a lot of upvotes is there any functionality of syncing the calendar with to-dos? Short
Yeah,
answer is yes. And Ashley's going to show that to us.
definitely. So the first thing you'll see on this schedule, and again, it's similar to Basecamp 2, where anything that has a due date is going to show up on that project schedule. And so here I have that due date for this Q3 report, but I can also set up a team meeting or something else like that. And I can even include Kimberly, and maybe I'll notify everybody else. So this event will then show up on the calendar as well. So now we have something on the 12th and the 27th, right? So what I could do here is, if my schedule is overwhelmingly full of tasks and I can't see my meetings, you have a choice here. I can choose what to show and switch it to events only, so that I only see the meetings and not the things with due dates. Either way, let's switch it back really quick, because either way, what you would do is that you can add this schedule to your external calendar. So we have a subscription option for Google, Apple, and Outlook. I personally use Apple Calendar, so you can even bring it up here. I've already done this with a couple of projects, so you can see that those are subscribed here on the side, but you can simply add another, I believe you just click on preferences and you add another calendar to whatever it is that you use. And so it's going to be slightly different when you do it for your version, be it Outlook, Google, but we have full help guides on how to make that a reality. So if you love that grid style calendar, then this is a fantastic option, because in Basecamp 4, we do have this agenda style only. And so I have one more thing, but do you have a question?
Yeah, I was actually going to post up this question. You're answering it right now. Is there anything similar to the master calendar in Basecamp 2?
Yes. So the closest that we get is activity and then upcoming dates, because activity pulls together everything that's happening across all projects that you're a part of, right? So if Kimberly's a part of 20 projects and I'm only a part of 2, what we see on this page is going to be different. But it pulls everything that you are a part of, right? And so it's going to be very relevant to whatever it is that you see. And it's things that are assigned to you, things that are not assigned to you, just all types of events in one location. And so again, it does follow that agenda style view, but if you'd like, you can add this schedule to your external calendar. And so you could have that as an option. I just personally prefer to subscribe to individual ones so I can toggle them on and off. It just helps me to be able to kind of visualize where things are. So.
And I personally only subscribe to my schedule. That's my appointments where I need to be, not all of the schedules. But it's nice because it offers you that flexibility to subscribe what you want to and not what you don't. So one of the things I will say, and Ashley chime in, is that the calendar is probably the biggest difference visually from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4 in how it's handled functionally. As Ashley mentioned, this is an agenda style versus the full grid style. That has been one of the features that sometimes gets people hung up on not wanting to move to Basecamp 4, and that's totally okay. Just know that it is definitely a difference between Basecamp 2 and Basecamp 4 is how the calendar is handled.
Yeah, fully agree. Fully agree. And then something that I want to get into would be clients, because I think that people really have used Basecamp 2 in the past with clients extremely well, and it's fantastic. And I actually already have a project here set up with a client, and so it's already pre-populated with plenty of things for us to look at. But I think one of the fundamental things here is that when I go down to this client in particular, we start to see this yellow indicator. And when I go back into the project, they're wrapped in yellow. And when I click on a person, there's that yellow indicator again. And so if I were to go to my to-dos and create a new list here at the top, the first thing that we're seeing here, aside from this gentle hill chart, is the option to allow the client to see this particular list. And so when I click on that, it again becomes yellow. And so what happens here is that the default is different. In Basecamp 2, the default is that the client can see everything in your project and you have to turn it off if you want it to be private to your team. It's reverse here. And I think it's a little bit safer, a little bit nicer. And so in this list, let's say that this is where the client can add tasks here. And actually, let me write it for the client. Let me say to them, any tasks that you're thinking of, add them here. And so let me create this list for them, right? So now they can participate. I can even assign things out to the client themselves. But this whole indicator of what the client can see and what they can't see is going to be in every single tool. It's not just in to-dos. We can also see them in the message board. These 3 messages at the top, these were directly written for the client. They say, hey, to this person. And then we have a couple others that were just private to the team. So as we sort of begin to work in Basecamp 4, just know that that is an option, and then things are very collaborative. And because a lot of people do have clients that either they tend to fall on the spectrum of we want to be involved, and so give us a login and let us be in it, or they go into the area that's like, I would not like to learn anything new. Kindly leave me as email only. As long as they just accept their invitation to join the account one time, then they can reply to email notifications that they receive, which are set up for them by default. So if I'm writing something for the client and I'm asking for an approval, I can go ahead and say something like, hey, Gina, feel free to just reply to this email even. And so I know I'm notifying this person and they will get an email because that's the default, unless they deliberately change it. But when I post this message, it sends them an email and they can reply to that and it'll show up as a comment here. There is also a minor thing that I want to mention, and that you can close comments as well.
Mm-hmm.
So folks who are very focused on email, if they go and find an old thread, perhaps unnecessarily start to reply to it and add new comments to things that don't necessarily belong there, instead of you having to move things around, you can just close the comments when the approval is complete. And so with that, it would bounce their message and they would have to figure out where the proper place is to put that new piece of information, because this is not correct. So hopefully that is also an appeal.
Yeah. So Ashley, you've answered Gina's questions about clients. You can turn on or off anything for clients. And then Dean's question, the our team versus the client separation in Basecamp 2 was what kept us on Basecamp 2 versus 3, 4. And really in Basecamp 4, it's really just how you're inviting them into your account that separates whether they're a client or someone on your team.
Definitely.
With that, I think we talked about the calendar being one of the big differences. I think for me, one of the other big differences between Basecamp 2 and Basecamp 4 is how the tools are treated. In that in Basecamp 4, each of the tools are separate. So in Basecamp 2, if you think of a discussion that happens on a to-do, it automatically adds to that discussion board. Or comments on a file automatically become a discussion. In Basecamp 4, I actually think it's more organized because all the comments stay with the actual task or with the file. They don't then relate to another tool.
And so we have that little marker here that says how many comments there are on any particular thing. And so for to do, here we see our task itself, and then we see that there's one comment on there. And we don't see that comment has moved over to the message board. They are separate entities. And I agree with you. It does sound, all right, just in practice, it feels much more organized. It does take a little bit of getting used to. So if you move a project over down the line, you might see, how is it that I had 5 files before and now I have none? It's not that they disappeared. It's that they just went to their exact siloed location. So if I upload something directly to the files tab within Basecamp 2, and then I will expect to see it in the docs and files section. If instead I have, let's go back really quickly. If instead I have something that I upload, here's a due date with a file, this file will show up in Basecamp 2, and we will actually see this underneath that task, not in the docs and files section.
Yes. And actually, to be honest, Ashley, I don't know that I've actually ever told you this, but that was one of the biggest barriers for me of moving from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4, because I was so used to everything creating discussions. Like you comment on a to-do, it creates a discussion. You comment on a file, it creates a discussion. And knowing that Basecamp 4 didn't operate like that, it kind of freaked me out. And that's kind of what held me back for so long, because it was like scary. Once you kind of just develop a different way of working, I actually think it's just so much more streamlined and so much more organized. Personal experience.
A lot of people do tend to just kind of scroll to the bottom of a project and see everything that's happened there. So we're kind of used to the activity of a project happening at the top of your page in Basecamp 2. It'll tell you what's happened like 20 minutes ago or how many days ago, but ours is at the bottom here. And we also have this view when you click on activity at the top, it'll show you that same thing, but for all projects.
Okay, we're going to show you how you actually move projects from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4. But before we do that, I do want to go through quickly what does and doesn't move, because not everything moves identically from one version of Basecamp to the next. So I want to walk through that. And I think I can show this to you. Let's see, we might have to move ourselves. Hold, please. There we go. Okay, so items that easily move over. Users on a project, including what company or organization they're with, that automatically moves, as well as your messages, to-dos, files, documents, any forwarded emails into Basecamp. Non-recurring events, so one-off individual appointments, move over. And any comments that are connected to all those things I listed. Those items easily transition, no biggie. Items that don't move, and really the items that don't move are simply because the functionality of how Basecamp 4 works is just different than Basecamp 2. So some of the things that don't move are just features that Basecamp 4 either doesn't support or supports in a different way. So that includes people's superpowers, if who's an admin, who's in charge of billing, that doesn't move. Groups or departments, previous versions of documents. So if you've uploaded a new version of a document, that newest version is going to move, the previous versions do not. So that's something to know. Any recurring events, tags for files don't move because Basecamp 4 doesn't have that tag. Standalone calendars, templates, and client projects. And actually, the other thing that held me back for a while was templates. I was using templates super heavily, and knowing that they didn't move, I just needed to carve out when does it make sense that I can actually sit down and recreate this template. That is one thing that doesn't move. So just things to know. Again, we've said it a million times, but you don't have to move. If any of these are deal breakers for you, Basecamp 2 might be where you should stay.
And Basecamp 2 is going nowhere. So this is just, I just wanted everyone to be aware that this is an option for you, that this exists, that it's called Basecamp 4 now, and that it's not terrible to move. And then a note about the templates, though, because you can build out your templates in Basecamp 4. Two things. One, there are also to-do templates. So if your lists are consistent, but not always within a specific type of project, or you don't need all those tools, there are just more options in Basecamp 4. And so with those options comes an opportunity, I hope, to be able to revisit your process and say, what feels like there's maybe a point of friction, and then in Basecamp 4, can we solve it? And so again, I do think a lot of how we design Basecamp is very much that you can understand it just by looking at it and by giving it a go. But if you anyone else on the support team, specifically reach out to guides@basecamp.com so we can have that kind of consultation with you. We can talk through any kind of concerns.
And Julie and Melissa, I saw your comment and I should have clarified. Client projects don't automatically move over, but there is an easy way to disconnect the client, move your project, and add the client back. So there is a workaround. And I should have mentioned that. So thanks for saying that in the chat, because that would be a scary thing if you couldn't move client projects. You can, it's just a little workaround. So we'll show that to you as well. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to have Ashley show us what it actually looks like so you can kind of see, not on your own account, on one of our accounts, moving projects from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4 and exactly how that works.
I'll do it. All right, so we are used to Basecamp 2. In a new window, I will probably just open up basecamp.com. This will show you everything that's happening in Basecamp 4. Clicking on try Basecamp for free or pricing and sign up will get you to the same place. And I'm just going to pick try for free over here. And I'm going to sign up here with the email address that I already use. So we go ashley@basecamp.com. You're going to be a home renovation company again. And then since it already knows that I exist here, let me just type in my 2FA really quickly. Okay. And so then you are brought into your new Basecamp account, right? And it's going to take just a couple of seconds to get in there. But you will be welcomed by Jason Fried, our CEO. He'll have a short message for you right there. And then you can begin to explore. We do have a couple of sample projects, and one of them is focused on customer support. The other one's focused on a podcast. So give those a look. You know, if you need some ideas, just take a look on there. Here's that message. Thank you, Jason. And so you can go right into creating a new project if you'd like to. but we're actually going to pivot over to the side and click on admin land. Because I use my same email address, our backend system knows that I own both accounts. So when I click on move projects from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4, it's going to tell me a lot of information. It is worth reading. It really is. But we also just told you all of this. So you probably get it, but just give it a once over. And then there will be an additional page here. And so it talks a little bit more about client projects and the things that don't move over. We just want you to be fully aware of what happens. And so and then again, here's that what if scenario. Just contact us. We'll be happy to answer any questions that come up. And so I'm ready to get started. I'm going to go ahead and click on Homes by the Harbor. If you're a part of multiple Basecamp projects or Basecamp accounts, this is what it'll look like. The ones that you don't own will be listed out here. But because I own these three, I can choose between them which projects I want to move over. So we're going to choose this one. And then actually clicking back to here, I'm going to bring up this project called Company Meetup. And here I have a good number of things happening, right? I've got 5 discussions, 9 to-dos, just a handful of things happening. And so when I click back into Basecamp, let's look for that Company Meetup project. I'm going to move it over. And then it's kind of on its way. So it's not a very big project. It won't take very long to kind of appear in our new account. But I'm going to keep an eye out for a couple of things. So if I click on Files, here I have 2 Google files or Google links, I guess, that were uploaded directly into the Files section, 2 PDFs, and then this JPEG. And when we get into Basecamp, 4, we're going to see that it is actually only these 4 files, and then this 5th one is going to be in its proper place, which is attached to a particular task, right? So let's head back, and I can go to this other tab, but you can actually just leave this page on its own. And then
actually, will you really quick go back to your Basecamp 2, because I want to show where it's archived. So in your Basecamp 2 projects, anything that you moved over is going to show as archived in Basecamp 2. It's just going to live there archived, and then it will be active in the most up-to-date Basecamp 4.
Yes. So it's ready for us here. I'm going to pull it up to the top a little bit so it's a little bit more prominent. And this is now the live version. Everything that can move over has been moved over, which is truly the majority. And so again, here we will see all these different things. Oh, I added an FAQ, 5 things, or 6 things, I guess. And then when I scoot over here to to-dos and I click on this one with a file, I can see that little indicator that says that there's a file here. And so when I click on this one, there it shows up. So it doesn't take very long for things to move over. Things are already pretty organized in the way that we wanted them to live. Hopefully that makes it look a little less scary.
Yes. And on that note, and Gina, this kind of will answer your question, I think. There are a couple of ways you can handle this transition. If you decide you want to move to Basecamp 4, there's a couple ways that we can do this. And let me pull this slide up for you. So we've kind of broken down 3 different ways. One is to move everything, meaning everything that you have in Basecamp 2, you're just going to port it over to Basecamp 4. Again, it will stay archived in 2, and you'll continue working in it in Basecamp 4, and you would start new projects in Basecamp 4. That's like, I just want to move it over. I'm done with 2. That's option 1. There's also the option to move nothing, meaning you open a Basecamp 4 account, all your new projects you start in the new system, and you finish or continue working on your old projects in Basecamp 2. If you wanted to start fresh with new Basecamp 4, but keep working Basecamp 2, that's an option as well. And anything that has been completed in Basecamp 2 will, again, be archived there. And then the third option, and this is actually what I did when I transitioned from 2 to 3, which is now 4, is I kind of picked and chose which projects I wanted to move. So some projects I moved over immediately and continued working on them in 4. I started new projects in 4. And then some, especially when I was working with clients who I was like, they are not going to be able to handle change, I just finished their projects in Basecamp 2. So that is an option as well. And Ashley will show us the only way you would pay for both Basecamp 2 and Basecamp 4, and we will go into pricing in just a bit, is if you are starting new projects in both versions. If you finish in 2 and start in 4, you'll only pay for 4. And you can turn your Basecamp 2 account into a free account, and Ashley will walk us through how to do that.
Yeah, let's get into it now, actually. Let me make sure that my screen is a little bit bigger for everyone. Okay, And so when I am in Basecamp 4, I have a couple of, I have my choices here. You don't really have to sort out any kind of payment until you see that your 30-day trial is over. But at any time, you can actually go into Basecamp 2, click on account, and you can say, you know what, I want to keep my existing projects in Basecamp 2, and I want my new projects in Basecamp 4. I'm done creating new projects in Basecamp 2, and I want to keep my Basecamp 2 account for free. So let me switch to this package. And then when I click back on the home page, the option to create a new project is now removed. So you and anyone else who has the ability to click on that button and create something, you'll now have that reminder overall. And it'll also change color from green to red. So that should take care of that. And then if you ever need to undo it, just contact the support team. We can definitely help you out with that.
And we've gotten a lot of questions about pricing. So let me show that slide. And then actually, I think we should knock out some of these questions that we have. So Basecamp 4, there are 2 pricing packages. One is a per user price of $15 per user per month. Those are for employees, people on your team. Clients that you're inviting into your project, you are not paying for. So it's only people on your team. It's $15 per user per month. There's also an unlimited plan, which is $2.99 per month when billed annually. If you're a larger team, that's going to be a better plan for you. If you are a smaller team, just have 1 or 2 people in your company or anything less than 20, that per user fee is going to be the best option for you. So those are the 2 prices. And like Ashley said, if you decide to use Basecamp 4 and only finish projects in Basecamp 2, you're only paying for 1 at a time. With that being said, let's knock out some of these questions. You guys have been very active and I so appreciate it. I think we've answered a couple of pricing questions. This one is at the top. I'm not seeing templates in Basecamp 4. Ashley, will you show us where those are? They are a little bit hidden, to be honest.
I will. You click on make a new project. And as I have a very new account here, at the bottom it says, do you do the same sorts of projects over and over? The answer is yes. So let's click on the create a project link. And then from there, you're taken into all of your templates, project templates and to-do list templates, right? So it takes a couple clicks to get there. We can just build one out. And we can have, say we have a new client, and each time we do, I want everybody to write the same kind of message. So you build it out in that particular area. But then everything after that is very similar to creating any kind of project in Basecamp 4. So I really, really recommend starting with a template, just because it begs the view to ask the questions to you and your team of what is working and what is not, what could be improved, what are we loving, and how do we recreate that in Basecamp 4. And I also think that it falls more on the intuitive side, and so it does feel like you can get a lot just by giving a template a go.
Thank you for that. Okay, we did not mention doors in Basecamp 4. And we have a question, is there a Google Drive file integration? And I think doors might be a good thing to show people. So in addition to changing the tools that we showed you before, how you can add multiple tools to any project, you also can link to outside services with a door. So we'll show that to you.
Yeah, let me grab a link from a different window. Got it. So here in this particular project, so if I go into the docs and files section, you do have the option, like we saw before, to, this is the equivalent of a text document. We have folders instead of file labels. And then we have the option just to upload files as you normally would, files and documents, right? And then here, instead of just having Google, we have iCloud, InVision, Notion, Airtable, another Basecamp, anything else that you want to link out to, and even another option. So yes, you definitely do have that Google choice here if you want to keep it within docs and files. If I have something that I'd rather have it be a lot more prominent, then I'm going to choose a door. It'll be at the same level of these other tools. And because of that, we go to change tools from the screen of the project, the home screen. And then there's a link here at the top that says open a door to an external service. That is a choice that's going to give us a lot of even more options of ways to link out to a client's Notion page, or the OneDrive that you currently use, or any other random link that you want to include. I have a Google Sheet link right now, so I'm going to use this option, paste it, and then I can rename this into, like, I don't know, sign up here if I'm this is a project for volunteers. We can use that same wave and kind of indicate to folks maybe, and I can drag it up to the middle so that it's even more prominent that this is where you can sign up for this particular thing that this project is about. Door is a great option.
And someone asked a question about forms, if Basecamp 4 has forms. There are not forms built in directly to Basecamp, but I think linking to whatever you want to use is sometimes helpful. I always say like Basecamp is great, but Excel is great for Excel or Google Sheets are great for Google Sheets. Like that's what they do. And so if you're using something like that and it makes sense to keep using something like that, linking to it directly in the project, I think is the way to go. Okay. Ashley, question for you. Does Basecamp 4 allow for viewing a single team member's tasks and project timelines?
Yeah, definitely. So if I look at my to-dos, I see here that I have something, 2 things for Laura, right? And let me actually also take all of these and assign them to Kimberly, who is in this project, right? And so not only can I just click on Kimberly's little icon and see Kimberly's assignments this way. That's absolutely one fantastic way of doing it. You can also click on activity at the top of the page, which brings you, to the latest activity that we saw in a more populated account, what that looks like. But I can click on someone's assignments, and then I can click on anyone in this account and see what they have going on and the ones with due dates, right? So if those are separate, you'll see 2 different things on those tabs. So that's way number 1. Could you repeat the second half of that question?
Oh, yes, maybe. Let me find it.
About views of some type.
Hold, please.
Hold. But I think this is just like a really fantastic way to be able to be like, all right, what have I missed? And this is going to say Laura has not been up to anything, but that's
project timelines. Does Basecamp 4 allow for viewing a single team member's tasks and timelines?
Yes. So I think of timelines in 2 ways. One is with the schedule tool that we kind of saw before, of how things are just kind of set up and you can subscribe to it in your external calendar. But I also want to point out, and let me see if I can get a little bigger here. I also want to point out that you can edit your project details and take advantage of this other tab here at the very top called lineup. And so if I want to say that this project really began last week and it's kind of going to go through, maybe we'll make it even longer, sometime in September. I can save those changes. I get a timeline at the top of my project, and it is for everyone on that particular space. And then this also shows up when I click on lineup. And so as I populate more projects into here, as I add the lineup start and end dates to these projects, I'll start to be able to see kind of forward and back where things are and kind of how things are looking. And so depending on the size of your team, they you can see their little icons and kind of see exactly who's on a good number of projects. That is one way to do it. I also would wonder if people would appreciate the automatic check-in question.
Yeah, actually, Lisa in the chat said anyone in the project could bring up a single member's task for activities. And the answer is yes, if you are on a shared project with them. So for example, I have a Basecamp project that's just me. Like I just use it for my own personal to-dos and whatever. No one else can see those tasks because no one else is on that project. So it's only on shared projects that you have with someone that you can see their tasks. At least
so
I
here
hope that helps.
Yeah, I've created 2 projects here. Now on the left, we can see there are 4 of us, and on the right, it is just me. And so nobody will know anything that's happening in this project unless they add themselves to it. And the only people who can do that would be the account owner. So it won't be the majority of folks on the account in the slightest.
Okay, so I'm going to rapid fire through some of these questions that are on the Q&A section. Sure. Is there a migration path from 2 to 4? Because I believe there was not a path from 2 to 3. So 3 is 4. Yeah. And the migration path is what you just saw, is choosing which project you're moving.
And then we also, in case you don't want to watch this video again, we also have Kimberly created a video that shows that exact process. If you just would rather see it once more, that page is within the switching from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4 help guides.
And we'll drop that in the chat as well. So it's basically a video of what Ashley just showed you. Another transition question, can we preserve our Basecamp 2 archives if we upgrade to Basecamp 4? And the answer is yes. So you always will have access to Basecamp 2. Anything that's archived in that project will just stay archived. Your new
Mhm.
things will move over to, you either can move them to Basecamp 4 or start new things in Basecamp 4, but your Basecamp 2 account you would still have access to.
Right. So here I'm between both, and I can even click on archive projects and get back to that company meetup if I want to. It's all there.
Let me go to Lindsay's question. Actually, I don't know that I know the answer to this. Does Basecamp 4 allow you to see the date a to-do was due? Yes, as well as the date it was completed.
Yeah.
Great. Show me, teach
All right.
me.
I do this. So let's get back to Basecamp 4. Clicking, what did I call it? What was the name of the account?
Oh, the
Home renovation.
home
There we go.
renovations.
All right. I'm part of a lot. 6.5 years here will do that to you. So when you're here and we are clicking into the to-dos, then you'll see that I have an option for, that due date. And that is very clear once it opens. This is a me internet thing. My apologies. And so when I click into this, we see that this is due on the 19th of July, right? And then as I check this off, then a notification kind of comes up, or a mark on the comment section says who completed this to do, what day, and even who this notified. So you have all this information there, and then that actually gets pulled up into activity once again into the section called to-dos added and completed. And so here's that task, me checking it off. You can click into it to get back to it. If I click another one, we'll see it there again. You can see that the activity is starting to build up and that I've completed 2 tasks.
I actually did know that. I just think I temporarily forgot.
Mhm.
Actually, let's go. I want to go to Adrian's question, which would be copying messages. She wants to know, can I select a group of clients or separate projects in Basecamp to all receive the same message? Not all projects, but a handful that get the same message. There's not a way to blast the same message, but it's
Right.
easy to copy a message from one project to another and do that multiple times.
Right. So if this message I've perfected and I've done well and I want it to go to my other clients, I can go ahead and copy it over. Instead of the move option, which will take the exact message and move it to another location, we're going to duplicate it. And so I can say I want this to go to my personal project or whatever my other client project is and copy it to the new location. If I had multiple message boards, it would ask me which message board I want to upload to even. And so you can do this a couple times over and then it would show up in all those different locations. But it doesn't take too long, just a couple clicks. So hopefully that'll work out for you too.
Okay, and while you're on that message, let's get to Sue's, which is, can I select specific people to alert in a post?
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to that project with other folks in it, and let's create a message here. I need your flight information, but I really only need it from Deacon. Save. So then I can adjust who it is that I'm trying to get this information from, even though it's still going to be visible to everyone else in this project, and notify just that one person. And to be super sure, we can click on those 3 dots on the top right hand side of basically anything in Basecamp 4 and see that it notified that one person.
Amazing. There's a couple pricing questions. I think that we've answered them, but I just want to say, if you'll go to basecamp.com/pricing, we've dropped that in the chat and we'll drop that again. That is where you'll see Basecamp 4 pricing. The big difference in Basecamp 4 is projects are unlimited. So Basecamp 2, there's different pricing packages. Sometimes you had to choose like a 10 project plan or a 40 project plan. With Basecamp 4, it's unlimited projects. So whether you want 5 projects or 500 projects, you're still paying that same price, either per person, $15, or an unlimited $2.99 when you pay annually.
I think another big difference too is that storage can be a major factor for a lot of people because it was much more limited in Basecamp 2. The days were different. Now you can get a 5 terabyte hard drive and it's like not the craziest amount of money. That was unheard of for a long time. And so now we have 500 gigabytes of storage within your Basecamp 4 account for the smaller $15 a person option. So right off the bat, you might have plenty of storage. For folks that are more focused on media and uploading files and things like that, then the other plan has a maximum of 5 terabytes of storage. So I think the storage limitations are also just functionally different. So projects and storage are not the markers for the cost for Basecamp 4 anymore.
Okay. Question from Jonathan about API. So we do have a public
Mhm.
API, and we'll drop that if I can get either Laura or Haas to drop that in the
Mhm.
chat where people can get to it. Um,
A nice API.
yeah, we do have a public API.
Awesome.
So if you have tech people on your team who want to do some sort of integration using our API, that is accessible to you, and we'll drop that in the chat momentarily.
And just remember that Basecamp 3 is Basecamp 4. So even if you are looking at integrations and you're like, you know what, I use Typeform and it doesn't integrate with Basecamp directly, I can actually type in Zapier Basecamp and it'll show you Basecamp 3. Just know in your heart that it is 4. It is 4. It's 4. So
That
the
is
API is
amazing. Question about reporting in Basecamp 4. We'll show you what we have. Sometimes it's not exactly what people want, but that activity tab is really the best source of our reporting in Basecamp 4.
It is. It is. Other than our dedicated project that we have in our own Basecamp account called What Works, where we update each other on a regular basis what we are working on kind of like during the week. And then on a larger scale, every 6 weeks, we also teams update each other on exactly what their focus is for the next 6 weeks. So we tend to take a more of a project focused approach, but to kind of see everything across your account, you can look at activity and then on things like overdue to-dos or upcoming dates, all of them like that. But check out our integrations as well. So basecamp.com/extras, they do have some additional reportings if you need graph generation or pie chart generation, things like that.
Perfect. And if you guys will drop that in the chat for us, basecamp.com/extras.
Mhm.
There's all kinds of integrations on there. Okay, just a couple things that I want to get to, and we may not get through all of these questions. And if we don't, you can definitely reach out to our support team, guides@basecamp.com. But I'm going to knock out just a few before we get to the top of the hour. Let me see. If we upgrade to Basecamp 4, can some of our clients stay on Basecamp 2 with us if they're more comfortable with that? The answer
Mhm.
is absolutely. I would say, Julie, kind of like I was saying earlier, how I did my transition, I would pick and choose which projects you want to move over. And consequently, that would likely mean which clients you're moving over from one version to the next version. But yes, you can choose these projects stay in 2 and these projects move to 4. Absolutely.
Mhm. Definitely. Even
Will
after the project is done, sorry, just
no, no, no.
momentarily. After the project is done, if you would like to move it over from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4, you just kind of remove the person from that space. You turn off the client option, and then you can move it over to Basecamp 4 if you end up wanting to leave that space entirely. So you have a lot of options, but feel free to keep that project going for as long as that client needs you to.
And from Jonathan, will Basecamp 2 remain intact and accessible for a transition period of upgrading to Basecamp 4?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. You can take as long as you need at all. Like there's no time limit on this. Basecamp 3/4 has been around since 2015. And Basecamp 2 has been around for 2005. I can't remember. But it's been a long time. And so neither of them have any plans of being shut down in any way. So if you would like to take 2 years to transition from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4, you can do that. It's
Absolutely.
whatever is most comfortable for you.
And again, the only way that you're paying for both is if you're starting new projects in both. So if you're
Mhm.
only starting new projects in the newest version of Basecamp 4, you aren't paying for Basecamp 2 anymore. It's
Mhm.
only if you want to start work basically simultaneously in new projects between Basecamp 2 and Basecamp 4. Okay, Ashley, last question before we wrap up. Will Basecamp offer human support for our team when migrating from Basecamp 2 to Basecamp 4?
Yes, that's me and the entire rest of the support team. So, while we have plenty of resources for you to be able to even when you're in your Basecamp 4 account and you're thinking about, okay, if I want to migrate, if I want to move, clicking on guides and typing in like, just type in Basecamp 2. And you can see all these different articles about it that might answer your questions right then and there. But if you're like, I would like to be with someone while this happens, we can do that. We can do that too. So you can click on admin land and move projects over, and we can be on the call at the same time. So just reach out to us, and your message will find us, and we will make sure that you feel comfortable as we move things over. And once you move a project or two over, you might find that it feels a little bit more simple than you had imagined. So should be a good time.
You guys, thank you for joining us. I'm sorry we didn't get to all the questions, but again, we have that email address on the screen. If there's something that we didn't answer and you want us to handle it in a one-on-one situation, just email guides@basecamp.com. That gets to Ashley and other people on the support team who are more than happy to help answer any questions. And like we said at the beginning, don't feel pressure to move. Like Basecamp 2 is not going anywhere. We just wanted to show you the new features because we're only updating our most up-to-date product. Basecamp 4 is also where updates happen. Every 6 weeks, we're pushing out new features, whereas, as you know, Basecamp 2 has been static since the new version came out. So all of our energy and love goes into Basecamp 4, and Basecamp 2 is just maintained forever. And if you want to stay on that version, by all means, we're happy to have you as customers. With that being said, Ashley, I think we're going to wrap up for the day. You guys, thanks for joining us. For those of you who have asked if you want to share this video with anyone, where you came, this link that you came to will also get you to the recording just a few minutes after we wrap up. So if you want to forward that to any colleagues, this is the same link that you joined. It's the same place to come back to. We'll also send you a follow-up email with that link just in case. Thank you guys again for spending your hour with us, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye. Thank you so much.